Welcome back, explorers. I'm David, that's Wesley, and this is the Trailcast.
A weekly show that gets so far off track you'll have to stick around to see just where we end up. So, David, The Bad Batch had a new episode out this week.
Yes, we did. And,
It did, not we. We have one out next week. I mean, we technically have an episode out this week, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about The Bad Batch that has an episode out
yeah,
as of this past Wednesday.
I realized this morning that I hadn't watched it, so I did watch it, but I, I, uh, I got into work early to get a head start on some things, just because I knew we were going to be recording today, and I didn't want work to have to run long, because, we were recording. So I got to work early, and so I was just sitting there watching mostly listening to it, the Bad Batch. So
Yeah, okay. Well, see, that's bad, but it's not nearly as bad as sometimes when the day of I would realize that I hadn't watched the movie we were supposed to be talking about, because that's pretty bad, especially when it's one of these newer ones that we the one of the newer Star Wars ones that we've been talking, because those are long, but gladly good thing we got all those out of the way. So anyways, Bad Batch. Um, you said you mostly just listened to it, um, but, I mean, what were your thoughts on the episode? I mean, what'd you think of the episode?
I liked it. Okay, it was kind of just a filler episode. Again, not a whole lot of like plot stuff. I mean, okay, there was a little bit of starting to see this tension between Hunter and Crosshair. So as far as that goes, there was a little bit of story, but for the most part,
Well,
it didn't.
I liked the episode was called Return or Returns. Was it Returns?
Mm,
Okay, so it's called Returns. Um, and obviously you can see the obvious parallel for Crosshair returning back to um the Imperial base where he was stationed at. So you can see that as being part of the title's name, but you can also see it as Crosshair returning to the group. So like you said, there's a lot of tension between Crosshair, specifically Crosshair and Hunter in this episode. Hunter doesn't trust Crosshair, and he has a lot of questions, and he's just, you know, there's like you said, there's a lot of tension. And by the end of the episode, they give that, it's a good scene, but they give that knowing nod of we're still brothers, uh, and you know, we are both working towards the same goal now. We both have the common enemy. Um,
mm. And
now,
I did kind of like the fact that even though it was a filler episode, it kind of went back and referenced a lot of one of the best filler episodes in the entire
mhm,
series. Because that episode in season
yeah,
two, where Crosshair ends up killing the Imperial officer, is probably it's one of the best episodes in the series, and it's a filler episode.
yeah. I would say thinking back on it is probably my favorite episode. I really do like the character of Crosshair, and obviously he's the main character in that episode. Um, but and here's the thing. So when it comes to shows like this, yes, we have to talk about the filler episodes and like the fact that there are filler episodes. But honestly, like I look at this episode and I'm like, I know it is a filler episode because of the fact that it doesn't really like okay, it's taking up time because it's showing you the process of Crosshair getting back into the group. And it also is taking time because it's giving Echo um, you know, information on Pantis. Is that the planet?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay. So on the planet where the clones are being held. So it's giving information there. But like you said, it is a filler episode. But like, the fact that like there's it's I feel bad calling it a filler episode within the realm of looking at the filler episodes from seasons 1 and 2 and just how those had no point whatsoever. And here it's like we're looking at this and you know, Crosshair is having to deal with like, the last time they saw Crosshair, he was the enemy. You know, they
Mhm.
don't know what's happened to him up until this point. They don't know why. I mean, Hunter even says it. It's like you expect to come back with us and not expect us to ask the question, why are you on the Empire's like why did the Empire put you in prison? Why is the Empire out to get you? You know? Um and those are valid questions because they don't know. They don't know. They haven't seen what we've seen. And um it's just it's good to see them working that out. And, obviously you got the fact of like it's all leading towards possible um what's the word? Not ambush, but attack or what's the word I'm looking for? It's some kind of an attack. It's a form of attack. But they're gonna assault. No, that's not it. Unless that was it and it doesn't
Um,
sound right. But they're gonna attack the base where all the Echo and Rex are like try and free the prisoners. So, we may or may not get to see that. I would assume we'd have to see that or have to see some reason why they can't do it. There has to be 1 or 2, especially since the fact that that's kinda what the season is building towards.
mhm,
Um, so I will say I'm looking forward to seeing Rex because probably my favorite. Probably my favorite.
mhm. Now, one thing I think they missed in this episode is again the kind of emotional thing of Crosshair finding out about tech because they did that like
Yeah.
Echo said, without Echo, okay, it's gonna record. Then the like camera cuts to Crosshair and he has a reaction, but he doesn't say anything. It's like he already knows, but you know.
Well, yeah, and this thing is like, we had talked about before, is like, are we going to see it on screen or are we going to just get it referenced to so that we know that he found out off screen? And obviously we got the latter where he found out off screen and we just have it referenced so we know now that he actually does know. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I understand the logic of it, and I'm kind of glad that they did it because logically it makes sense for him to already know. But at the same time, I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I really would have loved to see the emotion he would have shown. But I also, okay, here's another thing. From a story standpoint, it does make sense because at this point in time, in Crosshair's story arc, he is emotionally closed off. He's closed off in every regard whatsoever. I mean,
Mhm,
in the new Rockstars breakdown, I noticed it, but I didn't really think about it. But they mentioned the fact that he is wearing the same uniform or outfit that he was wearing in the previous episode while they're on the island or whatever, signifying that he's not taking things from other people. He's not taking help, you know? Like there are probably other clothes he could have, but he's choosing to stick with what he has on his back because, you know, um he's kind of just closed off to it. And I
mhm,
think by the end of the series, I think he's really gonna grow to really care for Omega, and even more so grow to care for his brothers because we see some of that in the episode that this one referenced in season 2, where he's on that outpost. He started caring for the clones, which is why he
mhm,
ended up shooting that officer. And
mhm.
so we've seen a little emotion from him, but he's still very closed off with group that we have here. You've been having some technical difficulties, David.
That wasn't technical. I just bumped the
Well, no,
mic like
what? Well, a minute ago I saw you. I guess you must have seen yourself in the camera because you like started getting stuff out of your beard because you're eating And I saw you laughing about that, and you did that. You're just struggling tonight.
Yeah, so for anyone listening to this who's not watching the video, I'm eating a bowl of rice, and I keep getting rice stuck in my beard, so I keep picking it out. So if you're watching the video, you probably are periodically seeing that. Um,
I apologize for you for us. I apologize. Someone
can't
needs
really
to.
help. I can't really help it. The beard just traps stuff, and
Yeah.
the white rice stands out on camera. So
Yeah.
um,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say something about the Bad Batch, but I have forgotten what I was going to say. Nope, no, I have
You know,
not.
David. Oh, go ahead.
Um, so I never really thought about it, but we learned in this episode that Omega is actually older than the rest of Clone Force 99.
Yeah. Well, because they mentioned that in when they're the last time the whole group was together and they're
Mhm,
on Camino, they mentioned how she was around when they were developing them.
mhm. And like I said, I guess I just forgotten about it because it has been like 2 years
Mhm.
since season one has come out, so I guess I forgot
Yeah.
about that. But that kind of stood out to me. I was like, oh yeah. So
They,
she doesn't have the accelerated growth that
yeah.
the rest of them
She's
do.
like she's like Boba Fett in that.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
thing is like,
also goes
okay,
back to the question of who is she a clone of?
yeah, well, also, well, because you also have what's her name? At the facility.
Yeah. The
What's her name, David?
the the scientist lady who's yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, you have that. But see, the thing is, and this could all just be misleading, but I mean, she calls them her brothers. So did they just clone? Did they figure out? I mean, the Cameroons were really advanced with cloning. So did they just instead of making a male clone, did they make a female clone, and then that's just what Omega is? I mean, that would make sense if they have more than her, but it also begs the question: why are there only two clones of girls? If so, why? You were
Also,
tasked to make an army, so why did you make Omega and
well,
Doctor?
also the fact that Camino like they were known to be cloners
Yeah,
even before they started creating the clone army.
yeah. So
So
so so that being said, so are they actually? Because it's assumed that like I mean, you've been talking about it, but it's assumed that they're clones of Jango Fett, like the rest of the clones. But yeah, they could just be generic clones of who?
exactly, and I think they're like Camino are the clones known to be clones for a long time. So
Hmm.
the fact that the fact that there are other clones that aren't clones of Jango Fett is not that far fetched because they're
Yeah,
actually you kind of have to expect that to be the case because again they're known to be cloners even before they started building the clone army because like what's his name Obi-Wan's friend from Attack of the Clones the
cloners.
yeah he knew they were cloners. No one
Yeah.
knew about the clone army yet. So,
Why can't I find who this girl is? Um. Yeah. Well, I
so
mean, that's obvious. That's why they. That's why they went to. That's why Dooku and Sidious went to. Who is this? Who? Nothing helpful. Anyways, that's why they went uh the to Camino, get them to do because yeah, like you said, we're saying the same thing in circles. Anyways, um, so David, I do wanna talk about this a little bit here, and I kind of was thinking about it throughout the episode. So I didn't grow up with brothers. I had two sisters. You grew up with brothers. So this episode honestly probably really relates to you, right? Because Hunter and Crosshair in this episode are both fighting. Essentially, they're fighting. There's tension.
Mhm.
It's they're arguing, they're fighting. It's all there. Now they never get into an all out brawl and like fist fight or anything like that. But have you ever experienced this before? This kind of a tension with your brothers? I'm sure it usually ended up with you getting pounded into the ground because growing up you were smaller than both of your brothers. You're all pretty big now, but I
I
know at
mean,
least then they definitely could take care of you.
nothing this serious, but yeah, we would get into argument. All siblings get into arguments.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm saying from the brother standpoint, you know.
Yeah,
And then at the end of it is that little knowing nod of like, okay, I've taken care of this. We're good. I guess not. The name that I found here is Emery.
that sounds right.
I don't know.
That sounds right. Not saying it is right, but it sounds right.
No, no. But I have a question for you. I
I
guess I
may or
already
may not
asked
have
you
an
one
answer.
question. I have a thought for you. Our half a brain cell is going to split and send you a thought. Anyways,
Uh huh.
don't question it. So I saw this on a Reddit. I've been looking at the Bad Batch Reddit, subreddit, whatever. Um, and somebody commented, made a post and said, "Why are there so many commandos in Bad Batch?" So in the first couple episodes of the Bad Batch, we saw a lot of commandos used to guard the facility. Now, I can look past the fact that clone commandos are being used as guards because of the fact that it's a high security, very important prison of sorts, lab prison. So it makes sense that you'd want the best of the best guarding what's there because it's very important. But why are there so many of them? Also, I would assume they're still clones, correct? These are clone. They're wearing clone commando armor, so I'm assuming it's still clones underneath. So if that's the case, why are they A, not a part of the experiments, and B, why is the Empire still using them if they're not using clones anymore?
Well, okay. I'm not saying this is actually why, but for one thing, I think it's pretty safe to say that they are actual clones because it would just be kind of misleading if they
Mhm.
weren't using the same armor.
Yeah,
You know, in the Bad Batch, we've seen like when the early stormtroopers wear different armor than clones,
yeah,
so that
yeah.
they're very careful to make a distinction
Mhm,
between the two. Now it could be a plot point later on that they're not clones, but that would have to be a plot point for it to actually make sense.
mhm.
If
Yeah,
if they don't actually bring it up, you have to assume that they're actually clones. Now, as for why the Empire's still using them, like you just said, they're the best of the best.
yeah.
Stormtroopers are not good soldiers. The Empire wins most of their battles just from sheer numbers, not from having special
Mhm,
units. And so that's
mhm.
why so a facility like that having that many. Now, why there are that many? I don't know. I didn't think that there were that many clone commandos. I thought I thought it was like ARC troopers. It was a very like small amount of clones that were
Yeah,
trained for that. Um, and then you also mentioned them. you know, the experiments and stuff, why they're not a part of it. I mean, who's to say they're not a part of the experiments too?
That's fair. Um, I do want to kind of rebuttal one of your points. You said that, why wouldn't they use them? Because like I said, they're the best of the best. But, you know, Palpatine's plan with in trading out troopers for clone troopers wasn't for better troopers. It was for greater numbers and more cost effective.
Mhm.
But that being said too, why wouldn't you use the troopers that are already in place? Now, you could say, and this is fine, and I can get on board with this. I just am not aware, I guess, if this is the case. Are all of the troopers in the prison there ones that have rebelled? Are there still troopers being like in action or stuff like that? Are there still troopers being used? Because I mean, we did see a bunch on the outpost, but this is a good ways into this is a good point after Order 66. Have they
Like,
phased out troopers, or are these just ones that have rebelled?
uh, as far as timing goes, I assume that the 2 years after 6, because season 1 was right after. Season 2, I'm gonna assume was a year after, and this is 2 years after. I'm going to assume that that's the time frame we're working with here. Um, yeah, I mean, I I would assume that there are still clones serving the Empire at this point. We also don't know the inhibitor chip thing is kind of an interesting. I don't know, like, so it seems like most clones, the inhibitor chip, or most clones we've seen in the Bad Batch, their inhibitor chips like turned on during Order 66, and then have the side effects have kind of dulled.
Mhm.
They've started to actually think past the programming, but
Yeah.
that's not saying that. Say all these clone commandos. What if they're essentially just drones because of the inhibitor
Mhm.
chips?
Yeah. Well, okay, so you also got to think about this. So, and just give me your thoughts on it. So, even if we just go off of the aspect, or not even if we go off the aspect of like all the clones that are in prison there have rebelled, there are a large number of the clones, and we've seen that throughout the Bad Batch. After Order 66, we're like, hey, did we do the right thing? You know, hey,
Mhm.
are we on the right side? Why did we attack the Jedi? Yada yada yada. They're starting to put pieces together and think more freely for themselves. So that being said, is the inhibitor chip just a one-time thing, and from there people think, or is it supposed to be a thing that like they're just supposed to be loyal now to the Empire? Because if that's the case, why are so many of them malfunctioning? Because there's a large majority of people outside of the Bad Batch that are malfunctioning and either getting it removed or like do they need to have it removed? Is that a important thing?
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's like okay. I know the inhibitor chip thing that they explain a lot with like Order 66. Well, as I said before in the past, it really only became a problem, like the clones immediately turning on the Jedi, because of Clone Wars. So Dave Filoni kind of dug the hole that he fixed there with the inhibitor chips.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They don't really go into enough detail about the inhibitor chips in Clone Wars to say for sure what exactly
Yeah.
the effects of an order are.
Yeah. I had more to elaborate on that, but I forgot. So if I think about it at a later time, I will mention it. But yeah, this is one of those things where it's like, so many of them regretted the decision of turning on the Jedi after they turned, that it
Mhm,
makes one wonder, like, how effective are the inhibitor chips? Were they just really supposed to be a one-time use to kill the Jedi and then they get rid of all the clones? Would that make sense because of the fact that the clones could be a valuable asset to the Empire if they stay loyal? You know, like, I don't know. I know that they wanted to go for sheer number, but if they already had the troopers enlisted for life,
well, because it
why
would
not
have,
let
like,
them you be
it would have made on the Empire's part, it would have made more sense to okay, so, they moved the Republic had a bunch of specialized units. So,
Mhm.
they had different types of units to go in and win battles in different ways, depending on the environment of the planet they were invading. The Empire, like I said again, the Empire strategy was less specialized, more general units, and just win by sheer numbers. You would think that the Empire could have built up their army of just you know, the sheer numbers, and then if they need specialized units, you'd think they could have kept clones around for that. But
if if the Empire had clones, I don't think the rebellion's ever touching it.
yeah,
Let's be honest here. Like every battle would have been won decisively by the Empire if they had clones.
mhm.
I just yeah. I mean the ragtag group of rebels that they're not. They might have training, but it's not going to be anything that's going to stack up to the Empire. Not clone trained Empire troops.
Yeah, because you honestly, if you take uh, look at both wars, the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War, if you take each faction from those wars, the Republic and the CIS would absolutely demolish either one of them would absolutely demolish the Empire or the Rebellion.
But you think about it too, it's like, okay, the CIS, you got that one, but like, and you're like, oh, it's droids, it's sheer number, like that's the only reason they were, there. But it's like, no, look at all the specialty droids that they had. I mean,
You've got
if
commando
nothing else,
droids, you've got destroyers, you've got super battles. Yeah, yeah.
you got a lot of droids. Now, and to go on top of the sheer number of just strict battle droids that you have, you know.
Mhm,
But like, yeah, I mean, one of my favorite episodes in Clone Wars is that episode where they Cody, it's like Cody and Rex, or is it Cody and someone else go to that base like outpost or whatever on some moon or something like that, check up on things, and it gets attacked by commandos because there's supposed to be an invasion on the planet below, and this is the outpost that's supposed to like
mhm.
uh guard watch or whatever. And the commandos attack, and it really just shows. I mean, obviously there is a force that comes in after the fact, but like it really puts on display the or
Well,
the commandos, the droid commandos, and I mean they are they're pretty fierce.
okay. Just look at the fact that in Rebels, that one episode where the crew finds that droid outpost.
Hmm.
So that there's just a few like 20-year-old battle droids, and one uh what are those things called? The
Head
commander
droids,
droids.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, there's one of those, and then a few 20-year-old battle droids. and they had trouble, taking care of all of them. So imagine,
Chat.
new battle droids
Mhm.
in in the numbers that they would have actually been in. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I think you could even compare that to I think, well, the Rebellion probably had a little bit better firepower, but look at in the Phantom Menace the Gungans fighting the battle droids. They didn't actually
mhm.
win. They would have
No.
lost
Oh, they were
if
getting,
it weren't
eh,
if
clobbered.
Anakin didn't blow up the ship, they would have
Mhm.
got killed, all of them.
Yes. Yes, they definitely would because they were, I mean, they were retreating, and then they were
Hmm.
like, "I surrender," and then they all fell down. I mean, yeah, they were all they lost the battle big time.
Yeah.
I mean, they battle okay, but the thing with that battle specifically is that it was more of a thing of sheer number because they were just the battle droids. Now, like you said, they didn't have as sophisticated weapons, the Gungans, um, and the firepower, but I mean, the droids did have significantly higher numbers. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that still being said, like, once they got past the point of having a central connection or whatever, where you can blow up a ship and it shuts them all down, where each one has its own reserve, like basically it's its own person, unit, whatever. I mean, yeah, they built a very impressive army with
Hmm.
all that. And then again,
And then,
also that being said, why did the emperor decide to just get rid of and destroy all of them? Why not incorporate them too? Reprogram
mm,
them to make them be, I mean, that adds to your sheer number.
hmm.
At least taking the
Well,
tactical one, not even the commandos, taking those,
mhm.
uh have your special forces with droids, and then keep the rest for like on reserve if you ever need to like storm a planet.
Well, and think about this too. If that was your main fighting force, you just have to have one factory constantly going, and you're constantly making, and all the droid factories we saw were automated.
Yeah.
It was droids building droids, and you keep it constantly going, and then you can even recycle material from your destroyed droids.
Yeah.
So it's just a
If
never ending.
if you want to talk about cost too, though, I mean, Anakin killed the separatist leaders, the people
Mm-hmm,
funding the droid army. Okay,
mm-hmm,
somewhere down the line, you could have just taken their money. If not from them, you could taken it from whoever went to next. Like he's the emperor, could have gotten their money.
it
Now,
probably
sure,
did end up going to him.
well, probably because he had to build the Death Star,
Mm-hmm,
but they probably were already funding the Death Star because of the fact that the plans were shown by Count Dooku to them in Episode 2.
mm-hmm.
So they obviously knew about the Death Star, were probably starting to build it, and so it's like, sure, you might want to spend some of their money on that, but like, you know, these are some rich dudes. Like they got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money. They could have still produced the clone army while also backing the Death Star, and you could also get more investors backed. Also, the fact that the Emperor probably was loaded as it was. Like, the money was not an issue. It would
Well,
not have been for the Emperor.
also again, you're the emperor. You don't have to pay for it. You can just take it. No one's gonna stop you. You're the emperor.
Yeah, yeah. And even if you don't want to look at this as the fact that he's the Emperor of the government, this is Palpatine we're talking about. He's powerful enough, like, just within himself, to literally take it, and who's going to stop him?
Mhm,
Aside from the legality part of it, where he would literally go in and take it, and the police would be like, okay, he could kill the police if he wanted, the force or whatever. Shouldn't say that. He could take care of that because force lightning and stuff. we're gonna get off topic. I need to get away from this subject.
Mm,
Saying bad things on the internet. This is not a good idea.
yeah.
This is
So
Star Wars we're talking about. Star Wars.
yeah. Anyway, are you done talking about the Bad Batch? Because we did have some
And
other
we've been
stuff
off the
planned,
Bad
didn't
Batch
we?
for a while. You have a plan for what the rest of this episode is going to look like. So why don't you go ahead and introduce the topic to me and the rest of the people who might be listening?
Yeah. So we're going back to just kind of Star Wars keeps. Um, so one that I thought would be kind of interesting is the like the planet Dathomir and Nightsisters and just Zabraks in general.
Hmm.
Um, I got the idea actually from excuse me. I was looking on that website that we had when we did this the Yoda one. That website we found. I didn't find
Hmm.
any articles that were as much of a gem as that one was, but it gave me an idea because I did find one about Darth Maul, about where he comes from and all that stuff. So give me an idea because Darth Maul is of course Dathomirian Zabrak from the planet Dathomir. So why don't I go ahead and just read a little bit about the planet Dathomir.
Okay.
Also, I have not read any of these articles that I have pulled up, so I don't know where this is gonna go.
I love the preparation. Is
Mhm.
this canon or is this legends?
What I'm about to read from is canon.
Okay.
All right, so um, starts off with some astrogeographical information. Anyway,
Cool.
so it's in the Outer Rim territories or the New Territories. I don't know what the difference is. It's in the Outer Rim. I know what that means. So um, in the police sector, Dathomir Sun, or it's the Sun Dome. It has 4 moons that are unnamed. It has so its rotational period is 24 hours, so normal day, and it has a Dathomirian year is 491 days.
You want to hear something
It
interesting?
what?
The New Territories was the northernmost region of the galaxy. It shares borders with the unknown regions westward, the interior southward, and the slice eastward. During the Clone Wars, part of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, territory stretched from the New Territories to that space. So
So it's
new
just
as
a
in north.
part of the Outer Rim, I guess.
Yeah, basically. I don't know why it's called the New Territories,
Okay,
but yeah.
so here we actually get into some um. I could go into the physical information like the diameter, climate, all that stuff, but uh, I'm just gonna skip over that and jump right into the actual paragraph like section of it. So, Dathomir, nicknamed the Rancor planet, I did not realize Dathomir had Rancors, was a remote, neutral, and obscure planet in the Dathomir system. Had long since long since end with the Dathomir system, but it goes on to say that in the Dathomir system of the Quelly sector, in the Outer Rim territories, and the New Territories of the galaxy. It could have just ended at Dathomir system. Anyway,
That's that's a mouthful.
yeah. It was the home world of the Dathomirians. the homeworld of the Dathomirian subspecies of Zabrax. The the dark side of the Force had an immensely strong presence on Dathomir, which allowed for the nurturing of many malevolent Force wielders native to the planet. Several witch clans were prominent on the planet and practiced the Force-based abilities of magic, and that's magic with a it's Magick. So it's just magic with a K at the end.
It's
These
different.
clans, it is, yes. These clans included the Nightsisters, the Blue Coral Divers clan, the Singing
Dumb name.
Mountain, and the
Stupid.
Howling Crag.
La, 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 la.
Under the rule of the Nightsisters were the Night Brothers, a group of male Dathomirian warriors who were kept as breeding partners. The planet bathed in blood-red light from the sun Dormir. It had numerous continents that were overrun with vegetation, forests, and swamplands. It was also the homeworld of the semi-sentient species. Again, I might just be misremembering this, or it might be from Legends and canon. The current canon changed it, but I thought Rancors were from Volusia.
Don't know. But I'm finding out that they're from Dathomir.
Here, let me click through the link here to find
I
about
was gonna say,
Rancors.
click to find. Ow, my leg, my leg, my leg, my leg. Okay, we're good.
All right, so
Not
biological
really.
classification for a Rancor. So their designation is semi-sentient. Their classification is reptile. Their subspecies are jungle rancor, rage rancor,
Home
and
world. Home world.
shadow.
Dathomir.
Yes.
Othethan.
So apparently, yeah, they
So they
came
have
from
three.
three homeworld. I guess there's three subspecies of rancors from three different planets. Would that make sense?
I guess so. I guess so.
It
So
does not
which
make it
rank
clear.
cars are we? So this
Here's
is
the
Legends.
so rancors were a large
Hmm.
semi-sentient reptilian carnivore native to the planet Dathomir, although they were also present on Uluga, Tatooine, and Kuba. Rancors were often seen as violent creatures due to their extensive use as fighters across the galaxy. So it says Tatooine, but I think that's just because of Jabba's rancor.
Hmm.
Um,
So I think they're from Dathomir, but they're also like they've traveled to other planets, and so maybe like Felucia and whatever the other one was, are planets where maybe they've just been on there for so long, people just kind of assume that
okay.
maybe I
Anyway,
don't know. I don't know how this works. I don't know how planet hopping works.
I
I
guess
have so
yeah, if
many
they're like
ads.
original, I guess yeah, if they're originally native to Dathomir, they may have like had a population like let's say there was a fighting ring at some point on Felucia, and then the population got out, and they're breeding and became like an invasive species on Felucia. Who knows? All right. Well, I probably could find out if I kept reading that article, but I went back to the Dathomir article, so yeah. During the Clone
Can't
Wars, Dathomir
can't stick with anything.
During the Clone Wars, Dathomir would come under attack multiple times due to mech the I don't know what
Mechanized.
that is.
No.
Mech mechani Machination.
Well, see, the first word I was gonna say was mechanization, but I don't know if that makes sense in the context. David, who thought it was a good idea for us to? I did. Okay, I'm an idiot.
To Mother Talzin and her rival Darth Sidious. The rivalry between Mother Talzin and Darth Sidious. We'll just say it that way, leading
You just
to the
gotta
destruction.
you just gotta
Yeah,
reword it and make sure nobody knows, so we don't look like idiots.
let's face it. There's no way for us not to look like idiots.
So we don't look more like idiots than we already are.
Okay. Leading to the destruction of most of the Nightsisters and settlements on the planet by the Confederacy of Independent Systems after conquering it. Asajj Ventress, a Nightsister trained by Count Dooku, returned to Mother Talzin after her master betrayed her. This drew Dooku's attention to Dathomir, resulting in the slaughter of the Nightsisters. This left Talzin, Ventress, Marin, Shep. It's just listing all the Nightsisters remaining, and the three Great Mothers as the only known survivors. Again, it lists Morgan Elsbeth, but I didn't think she was uh Zabrak.
She's a night sister. Just
I mean,
click on
she's a
her
Nightsister, but
by religion and practice.
yeah,
But
Homeworld, Dathomir.
you also gotta think about the fact that we also don't know what a live action like what they look like in live action. Now,
But a
she's not
female Zabrak.
pale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but she's
on
not
here
pale.
it says she is human, but
Yeah, as a force
it
sensitive
says
human.
it says Dathomir.
Well, she could still be born on Dathomir and be part of the Night Sisters and not be a
That's true
Zabrak.
because the Zabraks were not actually native to Dathomir either.
Mhm.
Um,
Now, does this mean that she was around? Like, how old is Morgan Elsbeth? They have
uh,
her death here. When was she born? Like, was she around during the Clone Wars as a Night Sister? I guess she would have had to have been because they were wiped out during the Clone Wars.
mm, yeah, I don't know. Well, actually, I think we were talking about this when we were talking about Ahsoka. The whole thing with Morgan Elsbeth being a Night Sister.
Very interesting character.
hmm Well, because we don't know that much about her. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And a
let's see if there's
lot of
anything
this
else.
is just going into a lot of. Let's see, you get to the third, fourth paragraph, you're already getting into the new era. Yeah, you only have one paragraph that does anything. When they start talking about the new era republic, you get into the Ahsoka show.
hmm
I think that's because there's just nothing really known about her.
Yeah. All right, back to Dathomir. So I look just kind of skimmed overhead here. It looks like it's getting into some of the um uh Fallen Order stuff because probably that's why the most know about them from that because in
Yeah.
Clone Wars, but it's not a lot in Clone Wars. All right, so let's see here. So I'm gonna skip over that. Um, no, okay, I'll start right there. So the Dathomirian subspecies of Zabrak was native to the planet, perpetually bathed in a red mist. Its terrain was contrast ranging from the murky swamps the Nightsisters lived in to the harsh, barren rocks that the Night Brothers found residence. Dathomir's natural habitat were well adapted, or natural inhabitants were well adapted to the planet's harsh conditions, and some, such as the Rancor, were famed for their combative skills. Not many of Dathomir's residents left the planet, and those elsewhere in the galaxy rarely visited. Besides the
I also
Rancor,
feel like
go ahead.
a lot of that has to do with the fact that it from the brief glimpses that we've gotten of Dathomir, it seems like a much more remote and primitive planet, so less ability a lot of times to go.
Yeah, I remember going there in Fallen Order. It's not a very fun place.
No.
Well,
One place
it is in the
one
game, but it's not a
no, but, it's not a vacation destination, but what one of
yeah,
the things you were talking about was, like, it has many continents with much vegetation, and I was thinking about that, and I was just like, you hear that in your head, and you'd be like, "Oh, so nice, nice forest, trees." It's not a nice place.
let's try.
Death around every corner.
It's okay. Basically, if anyone's listening to this and not familiar with Jedi Fallen Order or Clone Wars, you've probably never seen anything from Dathomir. Picture it this way: it's basically an entire planet, or basically if Australia was an entire planet. Everything's trying to kill you.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it's okay, I was gonna say it and it's pink, but some people might take it the wrong way and be like, "Pretty." No,
blood red.
blood red. There we go. It's blood of your enemies.
Mm. Besides the Rancor, other native creatures included baneback spiders, large and aggressive arachnids that spat corrosive acid. Yeah, I remember those things. They were annoying. Um, and Nidax, bipedal predators with powerful arms that allowed them to easily traverse the landscape. Among the most among the most distinctive creatures native to Dathomir, however, was the Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl,
Ah, I hate that
a,
thing.
a species of gigantic bat that used its massive wings to fly to high heights and swoop down on unwary prey. One
Okay,
example of this
so
species,
go ahead.
one example of this
Finish your
species,
sentence.
Gor- Gorgara, was known by the Night Brothers as the Winged Demon of the Canyon and was particularly feared by them. It's the one Cal Kestis kills in Jedi Fallen Order.
So, when you first fight it in that little cave area, that's not a hard boss battle. It's pretty easy, honestly. It's kind of
Mm,
repetitive, yada yada yada. But when it comes back, again, not maybe the most hard boss battle, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it scared me because I wasn't expecting it, and I died too. Because like, okay, so what happened was, you're climbing up that wall, and it comes and it attacks you out of nowhere. It just comes and attacks you. First off, it scared me because it came out of nowhere. Second off, I like it was weird because like I don't really know specifically what happened, but I guess I got too close to one of its arms and it caused me to fall and die. So I wasn't happy about that. Luckily, it put me back. I think I was back on the bottom and I was going to start climbing the wall. It restarted me there, I think.
Like, it was just like a fall animation, where you fall and you come back. So,
Mhm.
it was good that I had to restart everything. But, like, I hate that thing. 'Cause I also, like, you're walking through Dathomir and on your different missions or whatever, your different objectives, and you see it, and you're gonna have to fight that thing.
Yeah,
And it's just
because
like
in a video game, whenever you're walking through like like a jungle or something, and then the camera pans up to a giant monster, and then pans down, yeah, you're going to fit. But I
I
think the reason that boss fight was so hard wasn't necessarily because it was harder than any of the other boss fights, but I think it was because it was so different than a lot of the other boss fights. You had to approach
yeah,
it differently because
yeah.
most of the
It did
boss
it did take a
fights,
second to
yeah,
it did take a second to get used to like, how to attack it a little bit,
yeah,
like you said, it was a
because
little bit different.
most of the boss fights in the game are lightsaber duels.
Mm.
You're fighting either an Inquisitor or a Dark Jedi or whatever. But
I'm not gonna lie, for most of that game, anytime I got into one of those boss fights, I don't know why, but the way I felt, I had a controller in my hand here, and I'm fighting this boss battle, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I got the fear, like it's life or death. Because 1, I know that my character is not as skilled as these inquisitors, and so I'm sitting here. It's kind of the feeling like I had, uh, just, a lot stronger, when I was running from Vader, but, like, for no reason whatsoever, I'm over here, like, scared because I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't die," knowing that it's a video game and I can restart. That game had me on edge a little bit, so it was good, though. It was good.
yeah, I mean, we've
It
talked
really
about that
immerses
before.
you. I really feel like it immerses you. I know we've talked about it before. This
Yeah,
is where we talk about whatever we wanna talk about, David.
yeah. Now that game in VR,
Yes.
so VR like the perfect like the way VR controllers are is like the perfect one to one for lightsabers. So why haven't we gotten a actual VR Star Wars game?
Have you seen that one where you have a lightsaber and you cut blocks in front of you?
Like I think there are some little like short things you can play on VR that are Star Wars, but they're pretty much just walking simulators. Like why can't we get like a actual like VR support for Fallen Order?
David, I think we can both admit that if we had that for Fallen Order, you and I both would be looking like, Dean Pelton in that, episode of Community with the VR, sitting on a treadmill.
Because like okay, if they can get Skyrim to work in VR, they can get Fallen Order to work in VR.
Oh, they 100% can. I don't know why they don't. Here's the thing. So I was talking with, at work the other day with some guys. A guy, found out that I like Star Wars, and I guess he likes Star Wars a little bit too. I was giving a hard time. He's so David, you and I are Star Wars nerds, right? Well, I've found that a lot of people that I work with are Star Wars fans, so I go a little deeper than them on these things. Now, he says he's a fan. I'm kind of confused because we were talking about the movies. He started ranking them. He forgot about Empire Strikes Back, and then he couldn't remember the difference between Empire Strikes Back and Attack of the Clones. But I'm gonna give him a pass on that because we're at work, so maybe the mind just wasn't working right. But anyways, we were talking about that, and one guy chimed in. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize Star Wars." Or we were talking about how long game Fallen Order was, and how Survivor is a similar length game. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize Star Wars games were so in depth, and like how Star Wars games have so much to them." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course they do. Star Wars fans, some of the biggest geeks and nerds out there. Gamers are some of the biggest geeks out there. They just cross.
Mhm.
Like obviously Star Wars gamers, like that's just that makes sense. That's two fandoms that cross. Like they're just intersected. So yes, Star Wars has a lot of video games. And so it's like it doesn't make sense why we don't cross it more, like we're saying here with making it VR. I mean, yeah, it's a perfect idea, but for some reason they just don't want to do. Disney does not want to make a good product. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, I know this wouldn't all be done by Disney, but Disney does not want a good Star Wars product released, apparently. I know everything leads back to hating on Disney, but
I was about to say that.
I can't. I don't like Disney. I don't know. I don't really just. Okay, here's the thing.
Mm.
I like old Disney. I don't like Disney as a company now, though. But obviously, I have Disney Plus. I watch stuff on Disney Plus. Yada yada yada. Yeah. But any chance I get to hate on Disney, I'm gonna do it.
Mm. I think Hollywood in general is yeah,
Yeah, but you know,
but Disney pretty much
Disney
is
owns Star Wars.
I was
Disney
gonna say
owns Star Wars.
I was gonna say Disney pretty much is Hollywood at this point.
Honestly, yeah, it's not gonna be too much longer before Disney owns everything.
What do they
They
not
basically already
own?
do.
What do they not own?
Sony,
Warner Brothers and Universal and Sony?
Sony, yeah, yeah,
That's pretty much it.
yeah.
And what have those companies done recently? Like anything big? I mean, I guess Spider-Verse
Yeah.
from
Sony's
Sony.
trying. Sony's
Um,
trying.
not with live action.
Okay, the word trying is used loosely,
Mm,
but yeah, I don't know. But Disney's I mean, I do think
I
eventually Disney's probably gonna own most of everything
I
as a
think it's
parent company.
yeah, I think it's Universal that owns Legendary Pictures. I
Yes.
think. Yeah. At
Yep.
least they're trying because they're actually releasing what we want to see. Uh, Godzilla and King Kong beating each other up.
Yeah. Maybe not the best plots, but hey, a lot of action.
Okay, okay. Again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You don't go watch a Godzilla movie or a King Kong movie for a plot. You go to see a giant monster destroy things.
I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. So is that what they
I mean,
got? Is that what they got wrong with the Hulk?
probably.
Probably. That's fair. That's fair. But we were talking about Dathomir, weren't we?
We were, yes.
Everything good?
Yes, okay. We should be good. Um, OPS just froze for some reason and then it started again, but we did not lose the recording this time, so.
I'd prefer not to lose it. Yes.
So, yeah. Um, yeah, because we're already an hour in. I don't want to redo all this again. So,
No, I don't have that time.
yeah. So, anyway, Dathomir. I don't even know where we were or where I am now on the article. Um, oh, that's right. I was talking about the wildlife. Why wasn't a rancor a like in Fallen Order? Like fight a rancor as a boss fight.
There wasn't a single Rancor?
I don't think there was. But then again, they already did that in Force Unleashed. You had to
You
fight
don't
so
fight a
many.
Rancor on, when you get trapped by that bounty hunter that's after Dexter
I
or
don't think
whatever
so.
his name is?
I don't think so. I could
It's
be
been a
just
while since I
completely
played the
forgetting. I
game.
could be completely forgetting Rancor or forgetting about it. But I don't remember a Rancor fight. But I do remember in
Like, I
Force
feel like
Unleashed. Force Unleashed, you have to fight a bunch of Rancors. Like first time
you,
you go to.
you
Hmm?
go ahead.
So the first time you go to Felucia, you fight one in Force Unleashed. And the
Mhm.
second time you go to Felucia, you fight two at one time. And then you fight a Bull Rancor, which is basically just a Rancor with horns, which I think they invented for that game. I don't think that's an actual thing in canon anymore.
Um, you fight one in, well, you don't really actually fight it, but there's one in, Knights of the Old Republic when you're in the
Oh yeah,
sewers of,
yeah.
and I think my mind might be thinking of that. 'Cause I can see one in video game animation. I know what that one looks like, so maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. Um, but I think I'm about there. I haven't played it in a while. I started playing that game a couple months ago. I think I'm probably around there on,
Mm,
what's the planet called? Can you remember the name of the planet?
I don't know which planet you're talking about.
The first one that you crash on.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
Uh,
It's been a while. I've got them both on Xbox. I need to go back and play them both. But then again, I was also playing Force Unleashed too, and I do play that too. Well, both Force Unleashed. I need to
I still need to
finish
play The
those.
Force Unleashed.
And Force Unleashed 2.
I I haven't played any of them,
Yeah.
which I call myself a Star Wars fan. It's Terrace,
Okay.
so yeah, I call myself a Star Wars fan, and I've never played Force Unleashed.
Mm,
How dare I? Right? Anyways,
mm. So
I didn't grow up with a PlayStation or Xbox, so although apparently it was on the Wii. I don't know.
I don't. I think it was a different version of the game, but yeah.
I was gonna say I have a version of it on the DS, but
Mm,
that's not anything close.
mm-hmm. All right. So I did look on the Starship.com
Mhm.
where we had that gem of an article last, or when we talked about Yoda, and I found a somewhat relevant article about how did Darth Maul survive. I don't know how I don't know how right this is gonna be or wrong because I've looked at some of these articles and they since then and then most of or pretty much all the ones I've seen other than that one are like normal, like actually
They're actually
factually
right.
correct. So I don't know
So
if this
what
one's gonna be or
happened?
not.
Did this guy? Because we looked it up and we saw the guy who, like, created it. Did his kid get on the website and just start randomly typing and then accidentally, like, that got uploaded? Because like, if everything else makes sense on his platform, why is there one episode saying that Yoda is a 4-foot, midget humanoid, like, I don't know, with
From Naboo.
5 from Naboo with 5 tongues and you know, 3
And
ears,
some of his species have tails.
or most do not. I don't know, one of the 2.
Well, some of the species have tails, and then some of them are look human. Some of them are green with pointy ears. It didn't make any sense.
Some have long, luscious hair,
Yeah.
flushes hair, not flesh in their hair.
All right. So
Anyways,
I'm gonna go ahead and just start reading this. This is Like I said, I have not read it. I don't know where this is gonna go, but this is "How Did Darth Maul Survive" by uh, Starship.com or on Starship.com by Brad Burney. This might be the same guy. I don't know. I
All
forget
right,
who wrote
Brad.
the
Let's see
one.
what you got.
All right. In 1999, Darth Maul captured the interests of the world when he debuted in The Phantom Menace. The red-headed Sith Lord looked terrifying as he ignited his dual-bladed lightsaber, and then went on to fight Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi beneath the palace on Naboo. That's right so far. As we all know, the Sith killed Qui-Gon Jinn, but was bested by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who used his fallen master's lightsaber to slice Maul in half. And and the and the now much shorter Sith Lord fell down the chute so deep it looked to travel to the core of the planet itself. I can
I'm so
already
sorry.
I can already have trouble I already have trouble reading, and
Ye-
when the article I'm reading is not grammatically correct, it just makes it harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've probably seen the title of this article or wondering how someone survived not only being cut in half but falling down a massive hole in the ground. Well, the life of Maul from that moment is a long but entertaining story. Alright,
I hope it is.
alright, Maul's fall. So the big question is, how did he survive? Well, to quote Sheev Palpatine, the dark side of the sorry, I need to do the right voice. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. After being defeated by Kenobi, Maul would end up on a junk planet named Lotho Minor, where he would manage to survive his fatal wounds by focusing intensely on his hatred for Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's
That
actually pretty.
seems
It's
to answer.
actually it's
I
actually
say that
right
seems
so
to answer
far.
the question. So that seems to answer the question. So
Well, it keeps
now what?
going, so it keeps going. So
Okay, the
yeah,
question was, how does he survive hatred? Okay, we're good. One word essay.
Maul would remain on the planet for years until he fell into madness and survived on the vermin that lived in the junk piles. He assembled legs out of junk that left him looking like a spider. He would be found on the planet by Savage Opress. Savage was another Zabrak who was picked out by Count Dooku to become his new apprentice. Was that right?
I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about that part because he went to find Maul off of Mother Talzin, I believe.
I could have I think that's right, but as long as
Well,
wrong so far.
because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Think about it this way. What does Maul do once he meets up with Savage? They go back to Mother Talzin. He gets new legs, and then they become a new Sith duo. So they never
Mm,
go deal with Dooku. So yeah, he was never supposed to be Dooku's apprentice.
mm. All right. A
So
press took
there's
Maul.
one wrong thing, but it's not funny.
Yeah. A press took Maul back to their homeworld of Dathomir, where the Night Sister Mother Talzin used dark magic to restore Maul's body and mind. Well, not really his body, just new new robotic legs. Anyway, Darth Maul was reborn with his brother, and with his, Maul was reborn, and with his brother, the two began a rampage across the galaxy. Maul's main feat
Okay.
during the Clone Wars would be when he took control of the planet Mandalore. Again, this is going way
I thought
past how Maul
I thought
survived.
I thought his main feat were claws.
I saw the realization on your face when you got it, and you were like, "I'm not gonna laugh. I'm not gonna laugh." It wasn't funny. It was stupid, but I feel like
Also,
sometimes
this is
those are the
literally
best.
just going through like Darth Maul's
Maul's life.
in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
That's literally all this is doing.
Well, that's
'Cause
sad.
it goes through and the same manner and goes through the rebel stuff and then his death. Um, and it's all like I just skimmed through it and it all looks pretty accurate. So kind of disappointing. Let me go back.
Hey,
So yes, it was written by the same guy who wrote the other article, but I don't.
how do you get that from Yoda and then actually get it right on this? It doesn't make much sense.
And like, there was nothing in that other article to like show that it was satire or anything.
No, no, everything on that looks 100% like real. And you're sitting there dumbfounded. Because here's the thing. We talked about this, but like if you don't know Star Wars, you don't know half of the things that you're saying within that, like the terms that are being used, you don't know about them. And if you know Star Wars and you know those terms, you know that this is not true about Yoda. So, like, I feel like maybe it just had to be satire, and it just wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it's his
And
like,
and like, it wasn't like the like publication date wasn't like April 1st or anything. So
yeah, I don't know. So it was an anomaly, but I hope we can someday find something like that again because that was hilarious.
mhm.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see if I can find another another article like that, whether on this site or on another site. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, David, how long have you been recording?
About an hour and 15.
Oh, that's really not that long. I would have guessed
No,
that we've
not
been
really.
recording longer.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about Bad Batch for a while.
Oh, we stayed on the topic of Bad Batch for a while.
Yeah, well, true. True. We've
But
all
there
over the
doesn't
place.
really seem to there doesn't seem to be much topic right now, so that's why I was wondering.
Hmm. Well, since I could read another Wikipedia article about Dathomir or the Zabraks or the Nightsisters or something, or we can go to What's New with You. I'll leave that up to you.
I mean, I got stuff I could say in What's New with You, so
Yeah. So, well, I also think people have probably heard enough of us reading for one episode. So let's just
yes. Yes.
probably gonna be a good idea to go to What's New with You. And we didn't do What's New with You last week, so there probably is stuff new with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, in that case, roll the transition.
Let's hope it actually rolls this time.
What's new? What's new with you? What's new? What's new with you? What's new? What's new with you? Yeah!
Did you actually hear it that time?
I did. I did. That's why I was beep bopping around.
Oh, okay,
It's
good,
like
good.
me signifying that I
actually heard it.
Okay, good,
Not
good,
what I was
good, good.
getting.
I don't know why it's been doing like the laggy thing lately, and there was that one time that it just randomly played.
Yeah, we're already like 30 minutes in, and all of a sudden I get blasted with what's new
just
with you.
randomly play. Yeah, I
I
don't,
was
I
like,
don't.
he's gotta be. I was like, he's gotta be playing a prank on me. And you're like, what happened? I was like, ugh. Anyways,
Only thing I can think of is maybe I clicked it like when first I clicked it and did roll click again roll, and then somewhere to delete that one. That's the only thing I can think of.
yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but I heard it that time, so I think we're good.
Okay,
But, oh,
don't start doing that on me, Bo.
I do apologize. I'll try and stop. It's been a long day. It's been
Yeah,
a
no,
long week. It's been a long month. It's been a long year. Yeah, it's only 2 months in. It's been a long year.
it's only
Uh,
March.
I know. 1st of March. Well, it's already March 7th. Oh my god. Anyways, whatever. Um, David, so I know this past weekend you and Robert were talking to me about how I need to watch Dune and then watch Dune 2.
Hmm.
So you and I both are very much aware of how I am with watching a lot of things and how long it takes me to get around to watching things. Well, here's just a reference for you. I watched Monday Fast X, Fast 10. I finally watched it.
Hmm.
So that's about how long it's gonna take me before I watch Dune and Dune Part 2. Anyways, but I watched Fast 10. Um, me and Sarah, by the end of the movie, we were laughing our heads off at just how, like, so we've talked about it before, about how the Fast and the Furious franchise is just a movie that you go and watch and you turn your brain off and you just watch it for the action, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to be really serious, or you're not supposed to take it seriously. And for the most part, they've done really well with that. But I feel like in the past couple of years, and definitely this time with this movie, they took it just a little bit too far. This movie was stupid. It was hilariously stupid. Like, this movie is like
That's kind of
1,
stupid.
2 out of this movie is like a 1 or 2 out of 10, which means that it's rewatchable because it's so funny how bad it is.
It's unintentionally a comedy. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just, um, eh, so in this, John Cena's character dies, right? It's supposed to be this touching, sweet moment, right?
Hmm.
It's one of the funniest parts of the movie. Like, it was not sad at all. It was supposed to be this heroic death, and I was just like, "What am I watching?" I 100% believe that John Cena was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this movie, and then I'm done. Like, I'm not doing it anymore." And they were just like, "Alright." They wrote him out of the script. Like, I 100% believe that that's why he died in this movie. Because, like, what was the point? Um, I did
Well, I
think Jason
mean,
Momoa. Go ahead.
I was about to say, I mean, he had to be in another one because he was the villain in one, so he had to be family in this one. So
Yeah, yeah. Was he only just the villain in the last one?
yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, someone was gonna be a fan of that one.
It's a two-parter.
Yeah.
Um, this movie did make me think Jason Momoa would be a good Joker. He'd be a different take on the Joker, but he's crazy in this. So he could play an insane character like the Joker, I feel like.
I feel
Don't
like there
don't
are.
don't re Hmm?
I feel like there are better characters in Batman's Rogues Gallery that would fit Jason Momoa better. Because let's face it, almost all of Batman's Rogues Gallery are mentally insane people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Arkham is an insane asylum specifically, so but, it just made me think of that because like, there's that one scene where he has the 2 tech guys, and he's, like, painting their toenails and talking to them, and their faces are taped up, and they're dead, and I was like,
Mm.
"Yeah, that's a very dark scene." Um, but we also were making fun of it because so you know how in Fast 9, Dom dives off of a cliff and touches his wheel on a,
Oh yeah,
vine or something, does that thing? Well, you would think they can't top that, like, that
or
was
the car in
unreal
space.
or the car in space. Okay, okay, it was in the trailer, but they said in this movie, whereas, like, if it could be done with cars, they did it. They did it even if it couldn't be done with cars. With a car! No, no. Okay, so Sarah hasn't watched all of the Fast and Furious movies. So they mentioned the car in space, and she was like, "They went to space?" I was like, "Yeah, you gotta work your way up to that." I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm dropping you in the middle of this," but he doesn't care that much. But anyways, but anyway, so you look at that, right? You look at that stunt, and you're like, "Hey, it's kind of cool, right?" But it's unrealistic. It doesn't really happen in real life. Well, you're like, "Hey, they can't top this." Well, they do it in this movie with the ball going towards the Vatican, right? Because he jumps, and then he hits the crane, and then the crane just boots the ball off, and then he doesn't fall into the water like you would think he would. He parallel parks his car on this little side road over here. Dom is amazing in a car, honestly.
I mean, let's face it, Dominic Toretto is the most overpowered superhero because his power is plot armor.
Yes. And the fact that Vin Diesel, won't doesn't say won't lose, which he won't, but he's gonna make sure he looks good in the movies
Which is why
and
it's
not
kind of
wet.
annoying because, in some of the Fast and Furious movies, because Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson, I think Jason Statham, and there's probably a couple others that are in these movies. But
Mm,
I know Vin Diesel and the Rock do, and I'm pretty sure Jason Statham does too. But they have clauses in their contracts that say if they are in a fight in a movie, they are not allowed to lose.
yes, and there's also clauses that talk about how badly they can get beaten and how many hits and stuff like that they can take too.
Hmm.
They're, like, very detail oriented with those. Um, you also gotta look at the fact that some of these people don't like each other.
Well, that's why the Rock's never gonna be in another Fast and Furious movie because Dwayne Johnson
Are
and
we
Vin
gonna fi
Diesel don't get along.
are we gonna find his dead body in, Fast 10 Part 2? Is it Fast 11? Like, what?
No, it's Fast 10
Anyways,
too.
Fast 10 2. That's 12. Anyways, um, well, I also heard that Jason Momoa and Vin Diesel didn't get along, and honestly, you watch the movie, they have one scene where they actually have to be in the same room. One scene, and it's that scene when they're out to race. Um, that's the only time that they're actually in the same room.
Hmm.
So, they could do something similar to that with The Rock, which they probably will with the fact that they either need to kill him off screen or he needs to have some kind of on-screen presence with the way that they ended this movie. Speaking of the way that they ended this movie,
Me and Sarah had a good laugh over this. Gal Gadot's back after slamming into the pavement of a runway.
I mean,
I
if they
was
brought Han back, like,
Han doesn't make much sense. It makes more sense though. The fact that he could have gotten pulled
yeah,
out of a burning car. Who hit the pavement when they were probably going close to 200 miles an hour?
it's just pavement.
You're right. Plot armor is invincible. But no, legitimately, she popped out of the submarine, and I about lost it. I was like, "There's no way they're actually doing this. Like, this has gotta be photoshopped or something. Like, I gotta be watching a pirated version of this." It was the dumbest thing. I mean, and they did things just to do them. You know that fight between Cypher and Letty when they're in
Mm,
the prison or whatever before they escape?
mhm.
That had no point whatsoever. I mean, Letty just had to do it, obviously, but like I was just like, it was like, honestly, what's the point? You're hurting both of yourselves for no reason. I was like, it's a fight
So,
for a fight because it's an action movie.
so what actually happened in the Fast and Furious universe is that in The Fast and the Furious, when Dom's car gets hit by the train, he actually gets knocked into a coma, and the rest of the franchise is just him hallucinating when he's in a coma, even though
I'd believe
he's
that.
even though he's not actually there in two, but still, or three actually.
Let, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If Paul Walker was still around to be in these movies, do you think this would be the state of the Fast and the Furious franchise? Because Paul Walker was the main character. Vin Diesel became the main character when Walker passed away. Do you think that this would be the case with the movies if he was still around?
Uh,
Like they've never been that serious, but they've been low plot, high action movies, and this was a no plot, stupid kind of action movie.
mhm. I think they probably still would have gotten to this point, but I don't think it would be as bad.
Yeah. I think I don't really know if I remember much about Fate of the Furious, but of the ones that I remember, yeah, the only good ones that I really would care to go watch again are the ones 7 or before. I like
I,
Tokyo Drift, and that's one that
uh,
doesn't have Paul Walker in it, but basically any of the ones that Paul Walker are in are the only ones that I actually care to watch again.
it's been a while. I've only seen it once, and it's been a while. But from what I remember, Fate of the Furious wasn't bad. Um, but yeah,
It's been a long time since I watched Fate of the Furious, and obviously I didn't remember what Fast 9 was, so, you know,
and
until
then
you mentioned it.
Hobbs and Shaw
Um,
is just
that one wasn't that one wasn't it was an action movie.
okay,
It's an
but
action movie.
it doesn't feel like it's in the same universe as the
No,
rest
it's
of them.
Jason Statham and, The Rock in an action movie. That's literally it.
Yeah, it's Jason Statham, The Rock, and Idris Elba in an action movie.
Yeah. So, that's all it is. But, yeah, I don't know. I watch them, and I saw it, and I was able to watch it, but that was another 2.5 hour movie with no point that I've watched recently. I've watched about 4 of those in the past 2 months. This and both Star Wars episodes, or all 3 Star Wars episodes that we've watched.
Yeah.
Mainly the last two. Force Awakens has some merits to it.
The last two is what makes The Force Awakens bad.
Yes. Like there are problems with The Force Awakens, but they're amplified by the last yeah.
But yeah, it's thing like yes, there are problems with The Force Awakens, but there are problems with all Star Wars with all of the Star Wars movies. But as a whole, most of the the prequels and the original trilogy are amazing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then you get this, which is yeah.
So David, what's new with you?
What is new with me? Well, I did finish reading Dune, which I was almost done last time we talked about it. I only had like I finished it the next day after we talked about or had the last time we did What's New with You. So, uh, there's that. I've been working a lot, and I mean a lot. Um, last week I listened to I found a um like story-driven podcast called The Call of the Flame that I listened to, which is kind of interesting. It
Hmm.
basically is like it's a fantasy, story. Basically, my like a lot of D and stuff, a lot of India elements that are in it. Um, there's certain things that listening
I
to it,
think
I
I
was like
lost you.
that's oh, what was the last
I
thing
didn't
you
hear
heard?
anything you just said. It basically, and then you're going to explain what the podcast was about.
What did I say before that?
You were talking about the podcast, story-driven podcast you were talking about,
Oh,
and you
well,
were going to explain what it was about.
okay. Well, it's fantasy.
Mhm.
And basically, it's like D. Well, it has a lot of like D&D elements. Like I almost feel like it could have been based off of a D&D campaign at some point. I mean, obviously, there's a lot
Mhm.
more to it now, but like there's
Yeah,
like the main party and stuff, and it's like got a lot of like D&D elements. And then there's some elements that are like, okay, that's you know that's taken from like Elder Scrolls or that's taken from Lord of the Rings. Like it's
yeah,
but it's still interesting.
yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah,
Ah,
but yeah, I haven't really had a lot of time to watch movies or anything.
yeah. Been busy. It's been busy recently.
Hmm.
David, as of the release of this, the original Battlefront collection should be coming out in about 2 days, 3 days,
Yes, this will come out
three
on the
days, and
11th. That
it's
comes
coming
out
out
on
the
the
14th.
14th. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
and I get paid the next day. So guess what I'm buying?
Oh yeah. Um. So I guess once you get that, I'll be getting it. Um. And I guess we'll have to play that
Yeah,
together.
because it is going to have online multiplayer.
Yeah.
What order are you going to get it on?
I'm getting on Switch.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get it on Switch because I mean I have it on the Xbox already, or I have the original ones on the Xbox already, and I don't really want to pay for gold
Yeah. And if
just
you
for
already
that because
you already have the Nintendo
okay,
this right?
it's okay. So if you get like Game Pass or whatever, Game Pass for a month
Mhm.
on Xbox is the same price as Nintendo Switch Online for a year.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but I have Nintendo Switch Online. Um, so
Um, I can only get it on the Switch right now because
oh yeah, you told me about that.
uh
Your Xbox is out of commission.
yeah, yeah, my Xbox isn't working. So
Yeah.
yeah. Also, currently me and Sarah are we're working on a lot of different things, but moving is one of them. So I it's packed up currently. So
So you have enough time to try to work on it.
Yeah. So there's no well I know what the problem is. I don't have it out. I just need to get a new uh power cord for it.
Mm.
Um, well, that may not be the only problem, but that's the first problem.
But that's a problem.
It's well, it's a big problem because if I can't get power to the Xbox, I don't know if there's any other problems. So, uh,
Fair
I
enough.
think it's the problem. Huh?
I said fair enough.
Yeah. So, anyways, uh, I'm of the mind I should use it as an excuse to get a new one, but I'm also of the mind, the smart side of my mind, that realizes that Xboxes cost a lot of money and I don't have that money to spend. So, you know,
Yeah.
kind of in that little
Yeah.
leeway right there, or that little between space.
Like $500 isn't a lot of money, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. It's really weird. It really is in that weird space where it's like, yeah, $500 is not a lot of money, but if you think about how much you make and how long it takes you to make that much money, then it can start to seem like it might be a lot of money, you know?
I mean, okay, like let's say like you're I don't even know what the average hourly wage in the US is, but let's say like I'll just go off like $15 an hour. So for if you're working for $15 an hour, what's that? It's like you have to work what, like 40 hours. You have to work a whole week pretty much just to.
With taxes, yeah, you'd probably get, well, you get more closer to 6. If it's 15, 40, but then you gotta think taxes, which would
Yeah,
bring you
I was
down.
thinking taxes. Yeah, with taxes.
So yeah,
Um,
you get about 530 somewhere in there. So you'd have like a couple bucks after. It's basically a week's worth of pay for an average, if 15.
I think average. I think average above that in the U.S. But
Average in South Carolina. South Carolina's lower income.
yeah, because South Carolina is like 30 to 40 thousand a year average, which
Yeah.
still really is not a lot. Um,
No. No. But I mean, you think about it, it's like even if you make a lot more, like even if you're making 20 or so an hour, like, and you're bringing home 1,000 or over $1,000 a paycheck, like everyone has bills, okay? Well, every person who works has some kind of a bill. A mortgage is gonna be nowadays, you're not gonna get a mortgage for less that's gonna be anywhere close to $500. But, like,
but
you think about it when you start adding stuff like that, like, let's say even a car payment. If you're paying, like, $500 for a car payment, or, even $300, it's like, it's still a decent chunk of change that you're having to, so this
mm,
is just an added bill basically that you're paying. $500 is a lot.
mm, I mean, like if you want to get like if you're gonna buy something like that just anyone listening to this, if you're gonna buy something like that, unless you have like that kind of money in the bank, budget for it if you want to buy something like that. Just
Yeah.
wait a couple months, save for it instead of just spending all your. Basically, a good rule of
Well, the
thumb that I've heard that I actually kind of like is if you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't afford it.
so what you're saying, David, is I can buy it now.
Depending on what or, also, you're not the
Here's
only
the thing.
one making that decision either. So,
I'm not the only one making that decision. I also have, another, specifically now another mouth to feed, um, and another one coming. So, yeah, if I were to budget for it, that $500 would be getting spent someplace else.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not getting a new Xbox anytime soon. I'm not getting a new anything anytime soon.
Mhm.
Although I do need a new pair of pants. I wonder if we can find room in the budget for that.
I actually had to buy new pants this week.
Dude, so I have to write a essay, and I've been writing a lot of essays in English. I hate English. I don't hate writing. I hate this class. Anyways, um, I've been like writing back to back to back to back papers for the past couple weeks. Um, Taylor's probably annoyed too because I'm sending my papers to her so she can grammatize. She can check it for grammar. Anyways, um, but the one I'm doing this week is supposed to be an argumentative essay, and I'm supposed to be basically finding a debate topic and making my case for why I'm on a certain side. Well, I picked the topic of uh, why or that I don't think that school uniforms are beneficial, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm going through all the reasons. Well, one of the reasons I found this topic, but the reason I picked it was because there's a Matt Pat video on style theory where he goes over it all. So I was basically just going to copy his notes and reword it, which is kind of what I've done so far. Anyways, one of the things that he goes over is the cost. Well, I've been looking into the cost of clothes, which I know how much they cost generally, but man, like I was talking to Sarah, I was like, this is on the lower end of things, right? But you're not gonna leave the store and get a pair of clothes, like, even just like a shirt or a pair of pants for less than 20 bucks.
So, pair of work jeans I just bought this week.
Uh-huh.
$35 for a pair of jeans.
Yep.
That's a lot of money, and I bought 2 pairs of jeans, so, $70 for
Mhm.
2 pairs of pants. That's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those aren't even expensive jeans. Those are honestly pretty cheap for jeans.
Yeah. I went shopping for some clothes not too long ago, and yeah, I mean, you can't like, okay, you can probably find shirts for around 20 bucks, but yeah,
Okay,
pants,
it
it's
depends.
very hard. You can, you can find. I'm talking like I'm talking like when I'm saying this, I'm thinking like Walmart.
Mhm.
Like I'm thinking Walmart. You can maybe find a pair of pants at Walmart for around 20 bucks. But yeah, if you want to get something that's actually kind of nice or eat jeans,
Gonna hold
yeah,
up, yeah.
you're gonna
Well,
be
'cause, like,
spending 30-ish bucks.
well, 'cause, like, my thing with jeans is, like, I wanna be able to actually do stuff in them,
Yeah,
work in them. So,
yeah,
a $20 pair of Walmart jeans is not gonna hold up.
no, no.
Um,
Um, but one of the big things though I was looking at too was like kids' clothes because obviously if you're talking about students having to wear uniforms, essay, you're talking about kids. Kids' clothes are no better. And the fact that you can't even keep them for long because kids are growing out of them so fast. Like we're at the point now where I actually have this because I've been the same size for a long period of time. I'll have shirts and pants and different things that I've had for years.
mm,
But you can't do that as a kid. Like kids are constantly growing out of clothes, but their clothes cost the same or sometimes if not more than our clothes do. Less
yeah, so
material, but it's because people have to buy them.
mm, so I've got a pair of work boots that I've had for 3 years now. Yeah, that never happened when I was a kid or growing up.
No,
Well,
no.
for one thing, I either grew out of them too fast or they started falling apart.
I tore mine up. And any kind of shoes
Well,
that I got, I
well,
always
which
tore them up.
which which kind of makes sense too, because I understand, like, my parents weren't gonna buy like super expensive shoes and stuff for me because I was just gonna outgrow them. So, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
by the time that pair of pair of shoes fell apart, I was another size bigger. So
You'd be falling apart into a new pair of shoes
exactly.
because
So
you had to be.
yeah, I understand that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of weird, like having that, like all of a
Mhm.
sudden stuff starts lasting longer and
Yeah.
stuff starts,
Recently,
you
I
know.
got a new pair of tennis shoes. I still have my other pair of tennis shoes. I got these because the other ones were getting a little old, and I needed them for something else. Like I had some event that I needed a new pair of shoes for, so I got these. But I still have them, and I'm like, I'm not throwing them away because they're still in decent condition. But I also don't wear them all the time. So I'm sitting here like, what do I do? Because like growing up, I always just ran out of one shoe into the next shoe.
Uh,
But now it's like, well, these are still in good condition. What am I supposed to do? Now I have two
mhm.
pairs of shoes. This is
Well,
weird.
okay, it's like
Am I a woman now? I don't know.
so I was thinking about because for a while I was pretty much just wearing or alternating between I had a pair of boat shoes I would wear a lot and my pair of boots.
Mm.
And well, the boat shoes were like they looked like tennis shoes, but they didn't have the like athletic shoe sole.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking like I probably need to get a pair of athletic shoes. And I was looking in my closet and I found a pair of athletic shoes that still fit me that I completely forgot that I had. And I was like, oh, well, and they're
Isn't it
still in
nice?
good
Is it?
condition. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't need to. It just needed a new pair of laces. So I'm like, oh, I don't need to get.
It's always nice to go shopping in your own closet.
Mhm.
Find something new and it's free. Best thing in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, David, time is money, and we're not making any of that on this. So, are, are we done? I
I
don't have
think we're
much else
done.
to say. I think we're
I
done.
think we're done. We had a
Yeah.
talk about Star Wars for a good bit and had a rant about those. And we talked about this too, whatever, but
Yeah.
so
Well, when we get
I
off,
think
when we
we
get
got
off of,
everything in.
when we get off of the Star Wars topic, I feel like we're usually pretty good, well and done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can tell we're both tired. So
Oh yeah, I've been yawning this whole time. So I don't know if that's for lack of me having words. So my mouth just has to open up anyways, even if nothing's coming out of it.
well, and
But either way.
like I said, it's 8 o'clock now. I have been going since 6 this morning. So yeah,
Same! Twinsies.
yeah. Except I worked for 11 hours, and then we
Yeah,
recorded.
yeah. Been there, done that. Get over it.
Yeah, it's spring break, so I figured I'd try to get some overtime.
So you are on spring break. Mom was asking me about that if I was on spring break. I have no idea when my spring break is.
Well, I have spring break this week, but my online class I've still got stuff to do this week, which is actually due tonight, and I have not done it. So that's another thing I got to do. So yeah.
You gotta go. You gotta get out of here. I understand this completely. I got stuff that I need to take care of myself if it's not due tonight. So, anyways, we can go.
All right. Well, in that case, let's just go on to an outro.
Right?
Well,
Oh, sure.
explorers, that's about all the time we have for today.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. Or you can DM us on Instagram, outro. Almost forgot about that part.
Okay. And as always, be sure to join us next week on with another chaotic episode of the Trailcast.
I don't think much else wants to do with what I just did, so yeah.
Did I not? Did I cut out?
No,
I think you're cutting out.
no, you
I don't know what to do with. I don't know what to do with you on half of anything that you do. You're very confusing.
Alright, see you guys later.